Welcome back to more highlights from the United States Chess League. This is FM Mike Klein reporting. After more than 2 months of hard-fought action, the playoff picture is now complete. Half of the league's 16 teams are going to be going home for the winter, while the other half are gearing up for postseason play. While the West played only for playoff positioning this week, the East had everything on the line, as amazingly 7 of the 8 teams still could qualify for more chess. Philadelphia was the only team in the East guaranteed a playoff spot, but they garnered the top seed after a resounding 3-1 win over the Nor'easters. All 4 boards were decisive, but the inventors took the wins on the top 3 boards. The focus will be on board 1 mostly this week, and in the Philadelphia match, Grandmaster Sergei Ehrenberg continued his great season by besting fellow Grandmaster Alex Ivanov. After an Aliekin in which White didn't press for an advantage, Ehrenberg broke through on the queen side. Facing the loss of all of his pawns, Ivanov went for the black king instead, but this left his back rank mortally weak. 40 queen takes f7 was answered by the more powerful queen c1 check, and when the king hides on h2, knight e5 ended the game. Ivanov didn't wait to see knight g4 check, followed by queen g1, which would be forced mate since Ehrenberg's own king is inviolate. Tom Bartel and Dov Gorman capped their productive regular seasons with wins, ensuring Philadelphia draw odds throughout the Eastern Division playoffs. Things weren't exactly desperate for Connecticut in their inaugural season, but their situation was clear: win and in, lose and out. For Manhattan, they could only lose out on the playoffs with a series of extremely unlikely events, but they were still playing for the highest playoff seed possible. The blood spilled on board 1 effectively decided the outcome. Though the Dreadnoughts had a large rating advantage and White on board 1, 2700 Grandmaster Robert Hess was essentially lost in the first 15 moves. After castling queenside early, International Master Eli Vavsha opened files and diagonals with a couple of well-timed pawn thrusts, and Hess's pieces could only watch the carnage. The first pawn sacrifice was b5 to open the file leading to Hess's king. A few moves later, the less obvious e3 opened a diagonal to the king and hemmed in White's light-squared bishop. Hess desperately tried to activate his pieces, but he had to concede the exchange. By move 22, it was easy to see Black's activity could not be quelled, and Vavsha went on to win and led his team to a 3-1 match win. The win locked up the second seed for the applesauce, while Connecticut's season ended. New York and New Jersey also needed good results to ensure a continuation to their seasons. While the Knights still had a backdoor path to the playoffs with a loss, no team wants to leave their fate in the hands of others. New York got the job done with a dicey 2-2 tie against the Knockouts, which was basically as good as a win, as the split guaranteed them the 3rd seed. Board 1 was again the place to be, as Grandmaster Tamaz Galashvili continued his hot streak as of late by using an in-vogue variation of the modern defense to build a threatening position against Grandmaster Alex Strapunsky. With everything in place, he sacked an exchange to acquire the e4 square. Then he offered a knight to acquire the f3 square. After 24 queen h4, there was no easy way to guard the h3 pawn, and after Strapunsky gave away his queen, Galashvili eventually broke through. New York actually looked poised to win the match, but fortunately for them, an accidental resignation on board 3 did not affect their playoff positioning or any other teams. Of all the teams that eventually qualified for the playoffs, Baltimore had the longest odds. They handled their end of the bargain, winning on the bottom 2 boards to edge Boston 2.5 to 1.5. Still, the Kingfishers needed help, but the other matches went the right way, ensuring them the 4th and final playoff spot in the East. Although FIDE Master Kazım Gulamali played an attacking gem against Grandmaster Larry Kaufman, FIDE Master Jared Defaibaugh picked up his team with an elegant king march that will remind many of Nigel Short against Jan Timman. Defaibaugh took a slightly different path, but like Short, he chose h6 as his final hiding place. When the checks ran out, Black resigned in view of the deadly 7th rank attack. So next week's playoff matches are now set. The East will play first on Monday. Philadelphia gets draw odds against Baltimore, while Manhattan gets the tiebreak advantage against New York. The West will play Wednesday. Number 1 seed Dallas looks to continue their awesome regular season against Seattle, while St. Louis will use their late season GM substitution to fight with Arizona. We'll be back then to see what novelties and hidden surprises each team has waiting for the others in the playoffs. Until then, we'd like to thank our sponsors, PokerStars, the ICC, and Chess.com.